about the great work that Delta Airlines has done in the Atlanta community, you immediately think of Ed Bastian, CEO of Delta Airlines. Ed started his impressive career in New York as a partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers, then moving on to Frito-Lay International and Pepsi-Cola International. And Ed eventually traded snacks for airline tickets. He became the Vice President of Finance and Controller at Delta Airlines in 1998. And Ed, we are glad you made Atlanta your home. During his 25 years at Delta, Ed has been one of the keys to the airline's success. He's also a champion of putting the company's values of honesty, integrity, respect, perseverance, and servant leadership at the forefront of every decision at the company. Since Ed became the CEO in 2016, Delta's become the most awarded airline on the planet. And its 90+ thousand employees worldwide, which includes 35,000 right here in Georgia, are contributing to our community every day and connecting Atlanta nonstop, I might add, to the rest of the world. Ed has been honored many times, including being inducted into the Georgia Trustees, which is the highest honor an individual can receive in the state of Georgia. Most recently, Ed was named CEO of the Year by Chief Executive for his leadership of Delta, especially during this unprecedented crisis and volatility that's taken place over the last several years in the airline industry. And he'll soon be receiving the 4-Pillar Award on October 12th. Ed's also very active in our Atlanta community, serving this year as chair of the Woodruff Arts Center campaign, as well as in the Woodruff Arts Center trusteeship. And Ed was formerly the chair of the Metro Atlanta Chamber. He's the city lead for 110, a coalition with the mission to recruit, hire, train, and advance 1 million Black Americans over the next decade into family-sustaining jobs. He's a member of the Atlanta Committee for Progress and the corporate campaign chair of the Never Settle campaign at CHOA, the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Ed has been a strong voice on important issues also within the community and within the country, ranging from fighting human trafficking to affirming voting rights to supporting educational advancement and health and well-being. Finally, and importantly, Ed is a father, a new grandfather, and a fan of all Georgia football. So please join Erica Qualls-Beatty and me in welcoming Ed Bastian to the Rotary Club of Atlanta.
Ed, how are you?
I'm great, Erica. Good to be here, and thank you all for turning out like this. It's humbling to be in front of this group.
Yeah. Well, thank you so very much for being with us today, Ed. Delta just emerged from a really busy summer travel season, and I can tell you we felt it at the Marriott Marquis and all of our hotels in Georgia. You got Beyonce, you got Taylor Swift. It was a party. So just let me know, what's happening with travel and demand? What's going on in the world of Delta now?
Well, as I'm sure many of you know from firsthand experience, travel is back. We went through the last 3 years, the most difficult 3 years of our history. Certainly, I hope it'll be the most difficult years, because I've told our board if there's another one coming, I'm not doing it. So, I think hopefully we'll be safe. But the need to connect, not just on a local basis, but on a global basis, has been overwhelming. And I think we all see it. You see it in your business, we see it in our business. Last year was the year for travel domestically. And so everybody, as soon as spring break 2022 happened, and people had the vaccines, we got through some of the Omicron variants. I don't talk about the other COVID variant. That's to be unnamed. But the Omicron, and then people just started to go. Right. And it didn't matter where they were going, it didn't matter how much they were paying. They didn't care. They just said, I got to get out of my house. And that carried through for about a year. And then we had the same phenomena happening this year for international, anywhere we go internationally. The planes are full. I just came back. I was in Ireland this past week, and it's just teeming with Americans. And so while the world is starting to travel, it's particularly Americans that are leading the way, and it's so great to see. And it's exciting because people are reconnecting to joy and creating experience. One of the things I was talking to John over lunch here was that during COVID, So much of travel is about the anticipation, the planning, the making those connections as to what you're going to and looking forward, whether it's with your family or with friends. I was on a golf trip last week. I just had more fun actually looking forward to it than the experience itself sometimes. And all that was gone. Because not only could you not travel, you didn't even have something to look forward to in terms of getting away. So I think it's going to continue to stay very, very strong. I know B feels the same way at the airport. He's looking for a break. B, there's no break, sorry. No break coming. And I also am sensitive to the economy, to consumer outlooks. Everywhere you turn around, people are nervous about the economy. And I'm sure in some consumer industries that is the case. But travel is being prioritized, and so it's the top of the food chain for most people these days.
We're certainly enjoying it. That's right. So it's not lost on me what the airlines went through during the pandemic. And what I love most is that you released a documentary called The Steepest Climb. So what was it like to lead through that difficult time, and why is this documentary so important to you?
Well, as I just mentioned, it was clearly the most difficult, challenging period of our careers, our lifetimes. And it was one also that gave us a chance to all sit back and ask the questions about why we do what we do. What's the purpose in what we do? We had no idea where we were going to be. 3 years ago today, we were probably at one of the lowest junctures of our history. We typically on a busy day at Delta, we'll carry somewhere between 600,000 to 650,000 people a day. 3 years ago, it was down to like 10,000 a day. We were just talking about the airport here having to close and mothball most of the concourses of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Now, none of you were out there because none of you were traveling. But for us that had to be in the airport, and it's just so depressing seeing those huge we're down to only 2 concourses that we had. We had one international and one domestic concourse, and B was there, and it was and we didn't know what was going to happen. So we were moving very much about protecting our own. We needed to keep the skies open because doctors and medical workers and people that are engaged in keeping the economy moving, and no one was traveling because they wanted to travel. They were all traveling because they had to travel. And so we kept our planes flying during that period at reduced levels. But we kept every major market that we operated open during the pandemic when our people, everyone else was told to stay home, just like your people. Our people had to come out and report every single day. And they were the heroes. And one of the things that we wanted to, and this documentary is available on our aircraft and the in-flight entertainment system. It's called The Steepest Climb. We wanted to document what we went through as we were going through it. And we have a great filmmaker who took it and turned it into it's a great piece of film. It's about an hour long, and it kind of walks through what that experience was like. And the reason I was insistent upon making it was, one, for future generations, for people to understand what it took. Because we're in a society that's very much about today and tomorrow. Forget what it took to get here. Yes. I just wanted to document that. And secondly, to pay tribute to the heroes of Delta, the people of the airline that kept us moving.
That's awesome. Give them a round of applause. What you don't know, but we had a short conversation about it, but you saved our hotels also because of you're flying all of those heroes around. Our owners would call and say, Erica, should we close the building? And I said, no, I have 125 folks coming in and we need to be open. And so we got to keep all of our hotels open in Atlanta. Some of them closed down, but for the most part, majority of our hotels stayed open. So thank you very much, sir. Let's move on to my favorite topic, which is leadership. I'm sure we can all agree that mentorship is important in leadership. But first I want to know who your first mentor was and if you still have a mentor today.
Oh, I wouldn't be here without some great mentors. My first mentor and my most important mentor was my mom. Right through my entire life and career. Unfortunately, I lost her 3 years ago, right at the start of COVID, which thank God she didn't have to experience that, so rest in peace. But she's the one that inspired me and always believed more, that I could do more than I believed in myself. And I think that's one of the things that mentors create. They create an expectation, they set inspiration, they set a bar for all of us in terms of people that you may not believe in yourself, but you have someone who believes in you more than you have that same faith in yourself. That kind of pushes you forward in the right way to keep encouraging along the way. I've had so many great mentors over my career. Jerry Grinstein, who was the CEO of Delta through many years. Many of you know Jerry, back in the 90s and the 2000s, and kind of all the stuff that he had to do to kind of get Delta through the bankruptcies and the different challenges at the time and acquisitions. Jerry was the first person who told me that you're going to be a CEO of Delta one day. And I looked at him like, why? There's no way I was going to be the CEO. But you know, the way he did it was interesting. He was I was away at some point on a trip, and he told the local newspaper they were talking about who was going to eventually succeed him. And he said, well, I don't know who it is, but let me mention 2 or 3 people who will be down the road. And he mentioned my name. He had never told me. I read in the newspaper about that.
I think he did tell you. You just didn't listen.
That's fair. That's fair. Because I didn't believe.
I know.
But he was the first person that put that goal out there for me. I'd say a current mentor who's a dear friend is Frank Blake, who many of you know. And Frank just retired as our chairman at Delta, but whether he's chairman or a friend or a mentor, I know he mentors a fair number of leaders in the community and CEOs. And I've been CEO for Delta now almost 8 years, and he was my chair through most of that period. And you know, I know I'm a different leader today than I was then because of Frank.
What was your biggest lesson?
Biggest lesson that Frank imparted, it's hard because there's so many, but there was a breakfast I had with him right at the start of COVID, right? It was March of 2020, right when things were really starting to come undone at the seams. And he and I, it was the last time we saw each other for like 3 or 4 months because he kind of went into, like most people, went into hiding, and we kept going. And he said to me, you know, this is going to be an incredible experience. This is going to be something that, you know, they'll be talking about for years to come. But what they'll be talking about will be those that made it. And he said, it's oftentimes that people feel that character is born out of crisis. And he said the reality is not that at all. It's that your character will be shown during crisis, and it will be displayed during crisis. And I know your character, I know your company's character and culture, and you guys are going to do awesome. Yeah. And it was very, Frank's a man, as many people know, not a lot of words at times, but his words you pay close attention to. And it was that comment that he made to me as we were leaving that day that I held on to for the better part of the last 3 years. And to this day, I still think about that as I'm making decisions, and it's what drove a lot of the decisions about the company, about blocking the seats, the middle seats, and all the efforts that we did to take care of our people through this crazy period.
Yeah, and take care of your people, you really did. So thank you. Leaders often have different styles depending on the entity they lead. Have you adopted a particular style of leadership?
Well, I think I'm not sure there's one particular style. I think leadership evolves as you go. And again, I know I'm a different leader today, 8 years when I was a knucklehead new CEO and thought I knew it all, and realized how little I did know about sitting in the chair. Leadership to me personally is very much relational. I mean, I'm a people person. I didn't start as a people person. Essentially, I started as an accountant. And
accountants are people persons.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. No. I didn't. It came out the wrong way. Okay. So I'm one of 9 kids. I'm the oldest of 9 kids. Grew up in upstate New York, and I was in high school trying to figure out where I was going to go to college. Wound up going to a small school in Western New York, St. Bonaventure. And my dad said, well, what should I do? And he said, well, I know what you're good at, and I know what you're not good at. He said, I know you're good in math, and you're not good with people. So why don't you be a tax accountant, to be more specific. You don't have to deal with people, and you'll always have a job, okay? So I said, okay. So thank God that didn't go too far. But I did join the accounting profession. And I realized that there's the energy you get in this world, it comes from each other,
Yes.
not from yourself, and our higher beings. And in that realm, I love the fact that I now work at a company where I have 100,000 people who feed me. They think I feed them. I don't. They feed me, and they give me the energy to continue to grow. So it's very much a relational style of leadership. We talk at Delta a lot about servant leadership. All the Rotarians in the room here are that this is who you are, and this is why you gather, and this is what you do to serve. And we serve people. And I always tell people my job is to take care of our people. And I don't know how to fly the planes. I don't know how to fix the planes. I have a hard enough time getting a boarding pass or getting the app sometimes to work. I mean, it's funny when you become a leader, people make you helpless because they always want to help you and do stuff for you. So when that day comes, hopefully no time soon, when I retire, I'm going to be completely helpless going through the airport. B, I'm coming looking for you, so maybe you can show me how to use these things. But the one thing I do know is I do know people, and I do know how to serve them. And the best that I do serving them, the better they're going to do serving you.
Awesome. So Delta recently announced that they were bringing on retired NFL player Tom Brady. Any 80 for Brady ladies in here? What was your inspiration behind that move?
Well, first of all, apologies to Atlanta. I was in Houston too when he broke all of our hearts, and and we're big fans of the Falcons and Arthur and Rich McKay and Matt Ryan. They're all good friends of mine. We're big sponsors of the team, but there came an opportunity earlier this year for me to meet Tom. And I didn't know him previously, and I've now known him for 6 or 8 months. And we were talking, and Tom was trying to figure out what's next for him. He just retired, an incredible career, greatest ever, and was leaving his profession. And while he had enormous amount of endorsements and people coming at him by the hour, you can do this, you can do that, and people wanting him for he didn't want to just respond. He wanted to be thoughtful and disciplined about his decisions to what he wanted to do. And what he told me he wanted to do was he wanted to join a team. He's been a team leader for his entire career. This year is the first year he told me in 32 years that he hasn't played football, hasn't led football, dating back to high school and all the way through. And he wanted to be on a team in terms of a larger business context. And so we started talking back and forth. And candidly, the similarities, I know nothing about being a quarterback or a football player. It's just like he doesn't know anything about flying planes or how to work in the commercial airspace. But we both realized from a leadership standpoint we had so much in common, because Delta teamwork is everything. It's a complicated business. It's a hard business. We have 5,000 flights a day, yet every one of those flights or every one of those plays, something different happens. And you have to have people that are skilled and knowledgeable and integrated to deliver the best service for our customers. And so it was a huge, huge team sport, and the need to continue to keep the performance bar really high. At the same time, we have hired so many new people. We had a lot of people retire during COVID. Today we have 100,000 employees. 1/3 of our people are new within the last 3 years. 1/3. And Delta as a company, as you know, never had that level of turnover. People would come and work 30, 40, 50, 60 years at the company. So we had this massive experience loss. And it was on leadership levels as well as frontline service levels. And so one of my most important roles here is to make certain that with all the change, with all the newness, with all the complications in this, with air traffic control and infrastructure challenges, we don't lower the performance bar. We need to keep the bar high for all of you in terms of setting the bar and not letting the bar be compromised in terms of performance. And when I thought about who set that bar on a global stage with millions of people watching every single day, Tom Brady was that person. So what he's doing for us, it's not going to be, he'll do some marketing work. You'll see him with the brand a little bit, but it's going to be much more internally. It's going to be much more focused on discipline, on structure. He's spending a lot of time inside the company, learning about the business. He's sitting in strategy meetings, understanding what leadership development's about, how he could apply his skills and his knowledge and what he does to help us, inspire us to do even better. I firmly believe that we want to all be great in what we do. Absolutely. And at Delta, greatness is something that you don't show up for one day and you just decide you're going to be great. You have to work on it. And the one thing that I know at Delta, no matter how many awards we've won, and the one thing that Brady knows, he's won 7 Super Bowl championships, is that excellence isn't worth anything. It's what your next achievement's going to be. Absolutely. And how quickly that can be is fleeting, and how quickly you can lose that top rung if you're not careful about how you set that bar high. So from my standpoint, I can't envision a better person. We had him last week, or 2 weeks ago, we had our big leadership event for the summer. We bring all 2,000 leaders from around the world in over at the GICC. And Tom and I closed the event for an hour on stage together. And he told his story, and he told about what leadership means to him. There were people ready to go knock down walls, hearing his story. Next time. We'll do it the Marriott next time. I hear you. Well, we're going to do one of our velvets. We're going to bring Tom there. And so anyway, we'll see how it works. It's a long-term arrangement, and he's going to be part of our team. And people, one of the coolest things he did already, I'll just give you a sense. Every week, we have everybody that starts new with the company. We do an event, a one-day event, and we call it B-Day. It's their birthday with Delta, B-Day. Well, there was a B-Day class the day that he was over at the leadership meeting with us, and he came over to the campus to do some meeting people and seeing some behind-the-scenes parts of the company. And there was about 100 people attending this B-Day. Remember, this is the first week at the company. Pilots, flight attendants, airport agents, and in walks Tom Brady, unannounced. Could you imagine? Your first day on the job, and Brady's there, and he talks to them for 15 minutes about what it means to lead and why he's part of it. People were like losing their minds. I mean,
I know.
It was.
I would.
I mean, so from that. So that's what he does, okay? He's a genuine, he's a good person. I know he's got, fans and people who don't like him. Probably more people don't like him than like him because he broke lots of hearts. But he's just a genuinely good person and a great leadership expert.
Fantastic, thank you. So let's address the elephant in the room with all of you. You recently announced some big changes to your loyalty program.
You had to ask that.
That has sparked a lot of conversation. I hope all good conversation.
All conversation's good, right?
Is there anything you want to share regarding the changes to Sky Mails with this audience today?
Not that anyone would care, right? Now listen, you're right, Eric, and thank you for bringing it up because it is the news of the month for Delta.
That's the bring it up table over there.
Okay,
She's in the middle.
We can. They asked you to ask you for a friend.
Those are girlfriends. Hey.
We have received a lot of feedback from this change. To put it on, I've received a lot of feedback, and I appreciate it. I really, really do because it's important. And one of the things about that feedback that you look at and you realize how much people, particularly our loyal travelers, love our company. They love what we do. They love our service. And it's gotten to the point, honestly, where we have so much demand for our premium product and services that are far in excess of our ability to serve it effectively in terms of our assets, whether it's Delta One, whether it's the Sky Clubs, whether it's the upgrade certificate, whatever it is, the special lines of agents that pick up the phone immediately when you call. And we have grown that population through COVID, almost doubled the amount of diamonds that have come into the total number of diamonds. It's a large number of diamonds. I know all our diamonds are special and all of you are special, but we've got a lot of you, okay? And we had to figure out a way to make certain that we can continue to effectively serve those at the various tiers. And so we did announce some changes a few weeks ago. Those changes, by the way, go into effect in 2025. You would think they were all happening tomorrow. They go into effect 2020, but it's earning level in 2024, which is why we're so early on that. I will tell you that we're listening to the feedback. We are reading the feedback. Our reservation agents are talking to customers that call in, and the feedback matters. And we're not ready to fully evaluate. We're still assessing what we do, but there will be modifications that we will make, and you'll hear about it sometime over the next few weeks. So, we need to make certain that we can serve our higher tiers with the level of premium experience that you deserve and you expect. No question, we probably went too far. In doing that, our team wanted to kind of rip the Band-Aid off and didn't want to have to keep going through this every year with changes and nickel and diming and whatnot. So then I think we moved too fast. And so we're looking at it now. I'm not going to preview any of the changes that we might make, but we will be making modifications and changes because it really matters to us. We care about the feedback. We're in a business of serving people, and we want everyone to be served at the highest level. It's just way in excess of our current asset base, and it's unsustainable where we're at now. So more to come, but I appreciate the feedback. It's a gift, as people say.
Look at that. I love it. I love it. So Delta is a leader in giving back to the communities. And I'm telling you, for Atlanta, we can't thank you enough. You made communities a fourth stakeholder for you, along with your employees, your customers, and shareholders. The day you became CEO, which I think is awesome, and I got to tell you, it really matters. And if you think about what happens here every day in this city and the needs, you always step up. So why is it important to you to give back to the community?
Well, our community is our home. I mean, the folks that sit in our community, every one of us, you're all of those stakeholders. You are our customers. You are employees. You have family members that work for Delta. You are owners of the company. We have a lot of owners of the company here in Atlanta, as well as many of our other large cities like New York or LA or Salt Lake or Minneapolis, Seattle. And when you think about taking care of your people, we like to think about it in the full ecosystem. So taking care of our people who serve our customers, that generate the returns for our shareholders, that allow us to reinvest. And one of the things that Delta is known for is our profit sharing plan, where 15% effectively of the profits of the company go to all of our employees, not the management, but the frontline employees. And the highest level that we received, that we paid out just before COVID hit, was $1.6 billion based on 2019 levels. This year, by the way, this year we're working our way back. We're doing well. We'll have this year will be our highest revenues in our company's history because of that demand that you talk about. But we'll also have profit sharing that hopefully will be starting with $1 billion again this year and continuing to move forward. But the more we thought about that, and I thought about that, we're leaving out a constituent. It's great that our employees were sharing that, but it's our community that enables it. Because that's home. And so we decided that 1% of our profits would also go to our community at the same time. And communities where we do serve and work in Atlanta gets a disproportionate share of that profit. This past year, we invested $60 million into our communities, again, with the majority of that going into Atlanta. Mr. Tad Hutchinson is one of the most popular men in town.
He's the man.
I know, because everyone looks for him, because they try and Tad before they come see me. And Tad does a good job of kind of getting the messages right and massaging that. But it's important. It's part of why we have the level of care and respect for this community. And by the way, I've been here 25 years. I can remember when Delta did not have that. 20 years ago, when we were going through the bankruptcy and the hard times and the losses, walking away from our community obligations, we're just fortunate we were able to get everybody back on the boat, and we're going to make sure we keep them there.
Well, you certainly set the example for that because you led the Woodruff Arts Center campaign, which I'm really and Haley's here, and we love you for that. And then the $1 billion CHOA campaign, Never Settle. So, how do you have time to do it all?
I have good people. Tad and his team and so many people work hard. And when you get to your level on those and you can open doors and you represent something, and people want to contribute to something they see that have leadership surrounded. So I wish I could tell you I was out working the streets really hard, but there's people like Walt Emmer and Tad and many others at CHOA and certainly Hala at the Woodruff that do all the hard work, and I come and I get a chance to inspire them.
Awesome. So you were a founding member of 110, a company that aims to close the opportunity gap for Black talent and others in America. Can you share why you felt it was important to sign on to the 110 Coalition and serve as the City of Atlanta's lead for employers?
Well, going back in 2020, right after COVID hit, and then we had the racial riots, the challenges, the disillusionment, I'd say, in terms of our African American community, and certainly George Floyd was a spark for that. But the world was silenced during COVID. We couldn't go anywhere. The world was quiet for a reason, and I firmly believe one of the reasons why the world was quieted was for us to pay attention to those that don't have and those whose voices couldn't be heard previously. And Ken Frazier, who was the former, just retired as chairman CEO of Merck, and Ken Chenault, both of whom are good friends of mine, we're trying to wrestle down, because a lot of us were talking and saying, how did we get here? Because we've all had programs trying to improve our inclusiveness, the equity, the diversity of our businesses, but we just weren't making progress at the level, particularly with our Black community, the way we needed to make. And what could we learn from that? And both of the Kens said, well, one of the things that they wanted to do was create a coalition of leaders, of CEOs, because as much as we know our community partners are really important, as much as we know our governments are really important, CEOs write the checks, and CEOs do the hiring, and CEOs plan the opportunities. And so it really is a CEO responsibility. If this is going to change, it's got to be changed by us, everyone in this room, from a business standpoint, a business community. And there were about 20, 30 CEOs around the country that heard that message and said, I want in. I want to be a local leader for that, to create new jobs and opportunities for Black Americans into life-sustaining and generation-changing opportunities, that if we put our efforts against apprenticeship, against training, against looking for where people are and how we cannot give them a hand out but a hand up, it's amazing what we can do, and we're already on that path, both as a city and as a company and as a country, to generating those million jobs. But they're not going to happen unless you're intentional about it, unless you have ownership of it, and that's the role we play. And so many people here in the community are participating. I'm just thrilled by that and appreciate all the work we're doing there.
Thank you very much. So Delta's the airline industry leader and the busiest airport in the world, the 8th largest U.S. city. How is Atlanta so fortunate to be the leading airport in the world, and what makes it work so well? Well,
man right there is he's a great leader. He's a great leader. So B and his team provide enormous amount of hard work and effort and structure to move hundreds of millions of people the way they do with the grace and the efficiency. And yes, there's lines at times. Well, it's because it's where people want to go. And it's not just local Atlanta who benefits from that. It's all the connectivity and that we enable through that. Atlanta for over 20 years has been the #1 airport in the world, and there's people that are challenging, and there's growth. And it's our partnership that we have with the city, with B at the airport and Delta Airlines, that make a difference. We drive about 75% of the employments through Atlanta. So it's you talk about public-private partnerships a lot in the world, and I think it's one of the greatest public-private partnerships we have as a role model, where we both grow and we make the economy here locally better, we make the opportunities bigger, and we put Atlanta, fully on the map. As you said, 8th largest city, but #1 city when it comes to air traffic, and all of the industries and all the businesses that come along because of that. The tens of billions of dollars of economic development every year that we grow. The governor was up in New York receiving a well-deserved honor from the Korean Society last year, that because of Georgia and all that Korea, the Korean business community is investing here in Georgia, enabling that. Well, it's the airport that makes that happen, because without the airport, none of that gets started. So I think our team deserves B and the city a huge debt of gratitude. They're behind the scenes. They're usually not the ones up here, but I tell you, B is a hero in my mind, and I appreciate you, B, for all you do.
So I think many of us in the room are really excited about Atlanta. And I want to know what excites you about Atlanta future. And then I already know about Miles, so we know that grandson is the most exciting, but what really excites you about the future?
I told Erica that this is the second best thing I'm doing today. The best thing I'm doing today is I'm seeing my grandson for the first, I haven't seen him in 10 days because I've been traveling when I hit home tonight, so that's the best thing I'm doing today. Atlanta's home for me, and I will stay here long after I serve as CEO of Delta Airlines, because we love this community. We love the inclusiveness. We love just the spirit of can-do that this city portrays. We have issues. I mean, every major city, we're big in every city in the world. I understand that the issues that cities create and the challenges of economic disparity have. But this is a city that continues to be on the move and on the growth. One of the things we see happening, and you all see it here as well, is that this is turning into the East Coast technology hub. This is becoming the Silicon Valley of the East, with every big tech company, period, wanting to have their East Coast presence aligned here and yes, the airport is part of that, but it's the universities, it's the diverse talent, it's the efficiency, it's people wanting to live here, and it's the affordability that makes that a reality. There's so many things in the transportation. And all those hotel rooms. Well, we take up a lot of the hotel. We're going to need to build some more hotel rooms, Erica, no question about it. But there's so much there that people are looking at, and I think that growth is what drives us.
Yeah. I think John coming on stage means it's over, but
one more good question, Erica.
Okay. Is there anything else on your mind that you would like to say to us today?
Well, there is one thing, and I want to bring out Tad. Why don't you come up here? Because I know that the Rotary has been engaged in the early childhood campaign, and yes, we are making a $50,000 contribution to the campaign today, and I want to thank Tad. I want to thank Tad and our team to be early childhood champions for us all.
Ladies and gentlemen, give the incomparable Ed Bastian another round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.
Please come up and thank Ed. Ed, outstanding. And remember, our meeting's coming up next week on cybersecurity. Thank you, Delta Airlines.